Hi, and welcome back or welcome to Workplace Grief. We provide comprehensive solutions to help organizations negate the really challenging landscape of employee loss. How do we do this? We offer leaders, HR professionals, and employees tools that foster empathy and productivity, enabling companies to be supportive and thriving at the same time. So last Wednesday, I celebrated a milestone birthday. I have been lucky enough to work for companies where birthdays are a really big deal. And I have to say, it's nice to be celebrated, although it has taken me many years to get used to, to get used to it. I sort of consider accepting celebrations of oneself as an important act of self-care, but that's not why we're here. So birthday celebrations are a way to say to a person, wow, like you matter, we like you, we're glad you're here, we're glad you were born. And here's the thing, an employee who's returning to work after a significant loss needs to hear the same thing. So the question is, how do you do that without feeling really awkward? So I recently worked with a client whose husband died. She was rightfully nervous about how she would be treated. She was worried about what unintentionally cruel things her well-meaning coworkers would say. She was worried about the work that she was going to have to get done from her boss, and she didn't know how people would react if she started crying. And she understood her coworkers were just as ill-prepared as she was to return to work. We worked with her, we worked with her boss, and we worked with her team to ensure that her transition to work which is one of the hardest transitions an employee and even a team can face, went as well as possible. Now notice that I didn't say smoothly, because when it comes to grief, there is just no such thing as smooth. There's like either super, super awkward or not as awkward. Well, we helped everyone get to that not as awkward space. So heading back to work after a death is really hard for everybody. So I thought I'd just share some of the things that we did with the team that you all could possibly implement in your own organization. So the first thing we did was we made sure we had everyone decorate her office, not with balloons or streamers, but with condolence note and a tasteful amount of flowers. And I'll do a little video about how to write a condolence note, because that's another request that I get very often. One of the other things we did was before she returned to work, we educated the team on what to say and, more importantly, on what not to say. Believe it or not, one of the most popular phrases to say is actually the least helpful phrase. I will leave a link to that video up there. Before she returned to work, we met with her and talked to her about what her desires are. So for instance, this person didn't want anyone talking to her about asking about her sons, because it was so excruciatingly painful for her to think about her boys without their father. Another thing we did was we made sure that leaders had guidelines on what kind of productivity to expect from a grieving person. Leaders don't understand how a grieving brain works, and when they don't understand it, they make some really bad management mistakes. We also help leaders set really clear expectations between herself and her leader, so that they didn't have any misaligned expectations, which happens often when someone comes to work. And then we reminded everyone to not be afraid of the tears. Now, I know there are those of you who are watching this and you're like, I would be so uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to talk to anyone about acknowledging my loss. And I'm going to say this respectfully, but until you have lost someone significant, you don't really know how you would act, what you would want and what you wouldn't want. Now, look, death is really, really isolating, and it's scary and can make people feel like they're really crazy. So it's really important that you help your employee transition into a place that doesn't make them feel more crazy. The point is to acknowledge the loss in a way that is respectful, kind, and loving. And that can be done only when everyone has just even a little bit of a clue of what to do and what to say and expect. So I want to close today's video with a quote from my 7-year-old son. At the time, it was 6 months after his father, my husband, died. And he came home and he said to me after school, he said, Mom, well, in the little 7-year-old voice, he says, it's hard because I want people to know that I'm different inside, but I don't want them to treat me that much differently. I thought that was a great quote, and it's so spot on for how a lot of people feel. So if you're struggling with a grieving employee, reach out. We can help you build a supportive and work environment We help foster empathy and understanding. We facilitate open communications, yada, yada. We do a lot. This is a field that I'm particularly passionate about because I know it's a place where so many people are awkward, and I know how important it is to actually do and say something. Not because you're supposed to and society says that you're supposed to, but because what you say and when you say it really, really matters, because you matter. All right, y'all, I hope you make it a great day. So happy you stopped by here. Don't forget to watch that video up at the top there about what to say. All right, thanks so much. Take care.